Hi besties, welcome back to my channel, or hi, my name is Stacy if you're new here. So for today's video, I'm doing a new makeup at Sephora haul. I'm also including a wear test of the new viral Haus foundation and see if this is really worth the hype. So yeah, this whole face is of newer makeup products at Sephora. So if you want to get ready with me testing these new products, then just keep on watching. But before we get into it, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more content like this because it really helps out my channel and it would really mean a lot to me. And let's just get right into the video. Okay, so first up is the new Haus foundation. Packaging looks like this. It's literally so pretty, like it's very hefty and I don't know, it's just very luxe packaging, but probably wouldn't recommend for travel. So I just put some on the back of my hand and you can see it's quite a runny foundation, like it's running down the side of my hand. And I got mine in the shade 070 Fair Neutral, which is the deepest fair shade. I do want to point out that I feel like it's kind of pink for a neutral. I feel like it matches my face and chest better because my hand is quite yellow. And when I apply it on my skin, it feels very thin, like it feels like a serum. And since this is a skincare infused foundation, I feel like I can tell that. It feels like very lightweight skincare. I'm just gonna apply it on this side of my face first. You can see how it spreads out super easily. Like it's just very thin, spreadable, like glides over everything. Okay, so I only applied it to this half of my face first so you can tell the difference. But you can see how it has a pretty like medium coverage, I would say. But it's honestly pretty good coverage. I feel like this is my ideal coverage. And you can see how it definitely corrects my under eye circles and like some of the redness I have on my face. Also, sorry if the lighting keeps changing because the sunlight is coming in and out. I guess you can see it in different lightings. It does add this radiance, so I would consider it a radiant foundation, but it's nothing like too greasy or heavy. It's still very lightweight. Like I really like how it makes my skin look. It just looks like glass skin. But also for a radiant foundation, it's pretty pore blurring. Like it filled in my pores that are around my nose. I zoomed you guys all the way in, so hopefully you guys can see. I'm showing you guys my blackheads. But anyways, like you can see I have pores on this side as well as like on my nose, and they've kind of disappeared here, even though it still adds this radiance. Like, so I don't think it really enhances texture for being a radiant foundation. Okay, now I'm just gonna apply it to the rest of my face to even it out. Okay, so this is the foundation all over my face, and we'll zoom you guys in so you can see just the foundation. But I'm actually very impressed with how pore blurring it is for being a radiant foundation. I literally just cannot find any complaints. Also, looking really up close to my skin, I feel like I can't tell that I'm wearing foundation. I can't see a separate layer off of my skin. It definitely really sinks in. It has really good coverage for being such a thin foundation. So this is what it's looking like, just the foundation on. So now I'm just gonna go off camera to do my brows and concealer and powder, and then I'll be back to do the rest of the face with you guys. Okay, now I'm back with most of the base done. I did concealer, powder, contour, and my brows. So we still have to do blush. So we're gonna do blush together after I do a little bit of like a really simple eyeshadow look. So I'm gonna go into my Natasha Denona, my Dream palette, because this is my newest eyeshadow that I bought, and it's also like the perfect fall palette in my opinion. If you want to see a full review with 3 looks and comparisons, I have it up on my channel, which I'll link up here. We're just gonna do like a super simple eye look just to round out this makeup. So I'm gonna go into Nurture, which is like the neutral brown, and use that as a crease color. I actually wish that she put like a mauve tone transition shade in here. I know she has a mauve shade in Retro, which I think would look better with some of the cooler tones in here. But yeah, that's just me. So I'm just putting it all over the crease, and then also putting it on the bottom lash line. It helps define our eyes a little bit more. Then I want to go into the shade Babies, which is like this mauve rosy taupe shade. I'm just gonna use that as the main lid color, and I'm just applying that all over because I'm going for a more like mauve toned fall makeup today. I feel like I'm always super inspired by fall colors. I feel like I normally like more lighter pastel colors, but when fall comes around, I really like the more muted tones, and I also like a little bit more warm tones than I would normally go for. But we're not going super warm today, so I just love like the vibes of fall. Let me know what you guys think. Like, what is your favorite season? I don't know if I can say fall is my favorite, but I do really enjoy fall. Okay, now I'm just gonna take Thrill, which I think is my favorite shade in the palette actually. It's kind of like a gold to pink duochrome. It's very pretty, and I think I like it because it's also like the most sparkly shade in this palette. I'm just putting this in my inner corners and on my bottom lash line. I'm just gonna add a little shadow liner using Aspiration, which is the dark cool tone brown. Okay, so that's it for this eye look. And then for mascara, I was gonna use the Tower28 mascara, but I tried it yesterday and it made the curl in my lashes fall a lot. So it does not work for straight lashes that don't hold a curl normally. So just beware. I have a whole like first impressions review of that mascara on my TikTok. Yeah, it did not work for me. So I was gonna use it today, but we're gonna use a mascara that actually works since I do wanna go outside and like wear test this whole foundation situation. So first I'm gonna curl my lashes. First I just use my big lash curler, and then I use my mini one and I pinch the inner and outer corners. Okay, and then recently I've been really liking this mascara. It's from AMTS, which is a Korean brand sold on Amazon. But yeah, so this mascara works for my straight lashes. And for like a Korean mascara, I'm actually pretty impressed because I feel like it's both volumizing and lengthening. Because with a lot of Asian mascaras, I feel like they don't volumize enough sometimes. This one definitely has more volume than like a lot of other K-beauty mascaras, I would say, but it doesn't get clumpy at all, so it is really nice, and also holds a curl super well. Guys, I feel like I've given up on buying any regular Western mascara because it's just not gonna work for my straight lashes. Like, it has to either be from an Asian brand, which they usually make them waterproof even if they don't like say waterproof on it, because it means it doesn't have like water in the formula. Because I'm pretty sure what makes lashes uncurl, like when you put mascara on, is the water inside the formula. So like waterproof mascaras, I feel like they have a different base, like silicone or some other oil or something that's not water, which allows our lashes to stay up. So yeah, I can only buy waterproof mascaras basically. Anything that's not waterproof is just not gonna work for my poor lashes. And I feel like my lashes are pretty nice. They're just very straight, so I need them to be like curled straight up so that you can like see my lashes. Otherwise, if they're like this, nobody can see them. So I feel like I'm pretty picky about my mascaras. Okay, now I'm done with mascara, so let me give you a close-up of the eyes. But like, do you see this mascara? It literally looks like I have falsies on. So anyways, now let's blush my face. So this is my favorite purchase out of this haul, I think, and it's this Gucci blush. Like, can we just talk about how stunning this packaging is? Oh my gosh. I already used it a bit, so the imprint is a little bit messed up, but I got the color Rosy Beige or Rosy Tan. It has different names depending on where you look. But yeah, it's like the perfect kind of muted rosy mauve tone for fall. This was the most well done shade, I feel like, in their line that they released. But I might pick up a few new shades, maybe during the VIB sale, because I absolutely am just in love with this whole like experience. I've never tried anything from Gucci before. This is the second deepest blush shade, but it definitely works on my like fair complexion. So let me just show you guys. Like, I would say it's pretty pigmented, especially because it's one of the deeper shades, but it's still buildable. Like, you're not gonna get clown cheeks too easily, I feel like. But since this shade is quite pigmented, I think it will still look good on deep skin tones. I think the shade is very versatile. Also, it does have a slight like floral fragrance, but it's pretty weak in my opinion, and I have like a very strong sense of smell. But yeah, just something to note if you like don't like fragrance. Can you see like how beautiful that is? Like, I am stunned. I mean, I wouldn't say it's like a revolutionary product. I love that it still has a sheen to it. Like, you can see that glow right there. Like, for a powder, that's quite glowy, but there's no like noticeable shimmer or sparkle in it. It's just such a beautiful like sheeny blush, and this shade is so perfect for fall. Like, I'm in love. And I also feel like it's quite neutral. Like, it's not too mauvey, but it does have that like purpley grayish undertone, but it still has this rosiness to it that like makes it more wearable for more skin tones. So I don't know, it's just like such a nice, very nuanced shade. Love. Now, it is quite pricey. I'm pretty sure it's like $49, which is the priciest blush I own, but you're paying for the experience and the Gucci name, obviously. I think if you're willing to like shell out that money for like luxury brands, for the name, the packaging, the whole experience, especially this shade, I feel like it is worth the money. Obviously, I wouldn't say like this blush is like necessary in anyone's collection, especially for the price. I just want to compare a few other rosy tone blushes briefly, just so you can see like whether or not you want to add this Gucci one to your collection. So I'm going to swatch the Gucci one first. You can see it's quite pigmented, and it has a very smooth texture. It's very finely milled. I would say it's quite thin, and it does have a slight sheen to it, but it's not like super obvious until like you put it in the light. Hopefully you guys can kind of see. So the first thing I want to compare it to is my beloved Pat McGrath. So I just kind of wanted to compare it to this Divine Rose shade, but this Divine Rose one is a little bit more cool tone. I do have to say though, I think I still prefer the Pat McGrath formula, and it's like slightly cheaper. But the Pat McGrath one, it just has this extra bit of creaminess to it, to where it almost feels like you're adding a cream to your skin, but it's like, it's definitely true powder. It's just like a very creamy textured true powder, if that makes sense. So anyway, I just feel like it like blends out the tiniest bit easier. You can see here. So anyway, Divine Rose is not a really good match. Divine Rose is a lot cooler than the Gucci one, but it's about the same depth. Okay, I just wanted to briefly test. So I tested Nude Venus and Flirtatious, and they're kind of different. Nude Venus is a lot peachier, and Flirtatious is like lighter and more like a pinky beige. So the Gucci one still has like more rose to it, and it kind of has a brown undertone, but it does have like this gray mutedness to it, which I like because that also makes it more wearable on like lighter skin. They all have like a slight sheen, so like the satiny sheen is pretty similar. Okay, next up is M Cosmetics Venetian Rose, because it's like a rose tone that also has shimmer. So this is M Cosmetics Venetian Rose, and this is Gucci Rosy Beige or Rosy Tan. So yeah, as you can see, M Cosmetics Venetian Rose is quite a bit more red, like it has more rose in it, whereas the Gucci Rosy Beige is a little bit more brown and it has like a grayish undertone. So that's kind of the difference there. And also M Cosmetics has like a pearl running through it, similar shimmer. I would say that M Cosmetics shimmer is a little bit stronger, kind of hard to see in this lighting, but the Gucci one's more like a pearl and like the M Cosmetics is more like a shimmer, if that makes sense. Like I would say the shimmer is more detectable in the M Cosmetics, so that's kind of the difference. And then lastly, I got a couple requests. So someone asked to compare to She's Blushing. So I'm just gonna compare to the powder since that's like the most comparable anyways. Actually, She's Blushing is very similar to Venetian Rose. The tiniest bit more muted than Venetian Rose, like this is brighter. Patrick Tosh She's Blushing and Gucci Rosy Beige. You can still see Gucci Rosy Beige is a lot more muted. So that kind of makes it unique within these. Oh yeah, and I would say She's Blushing has a little bit more orange to it, especially once I blended it out a little bit more. It has like a more orangey undertone, whereas again, this Rosy Beige one is like more neutral and it has like this grayish tinge. Lastly, I got a request for She's Baked, but I can already tell this is gonna be different since She's Baked has a lot more orange red bricky undertone, and as we've already established, the Rosy Beige one is a lot more muted. So here's She's Baked, swatched really badly. This is probably like the least similar. It's like too vibrant, too terracotta orange bricky, whereas this one just looks so washed out in comparison. Actually, out of all of these, this Rosy Beige shade is the most washed out. It's the most similar to Flirtatious. Swatch I did here is Flirtatious from Pat McGrath. So actually, let me re-swatch that one. Okay, so here's Flirtatious, like this mixed swatch right here, and this is Rosy Beige. So Flirtatious is a little bit more pink, it's a little bit more cool tone, and it's a little lighter, like it has more white in the color compared to Rosy Beige. So Rosy Beige is like this if you took out the white and the pink. And I feel like Rosy Beige is kind of like a mixture of Flirtatious and these rosy tones like the Venetian Rose and the She's Blushing. I kind of, if you mixed these two, it would make Rosy Beige. But overall, like this Rosy Beige one is actually quite unique. You can see how it still has a little bit more depth than like Flirtatious, for example, but it's lacking any of the vibrancy that these other blushes have. So I would actually say this is pretty unique to my collection, surprisingly. And you can kind of tell in the pan, it's a very muted shade, like it has that gray undertone, which I actually really like. So anyone who likes these more gray toned blushes, I think will like these, especially if you have like a muted undertone and you find like a lot of blushes run too vibrant on your skin. I feel like I'm kind of like that, as in like most things pull brighter on me. So like to have a muted blush in this depth, because it's not too pastel either, is really nice. Okay, lastly, I just want to finish up the lips. So first I'm going to line my lips with this Charlotte Tilbury Iconic Nude Lip Pencil. This obviously isn't new. It's like my favorite lip liner, and I always blend it out with my finger. Okay, and then I actually bought these two cream blushes recently. I'm just gonna swatch them for you. I got the new Tower28 one in the shade Office Hours, which is like their mauve shade. I'm gonna use this on my lips. So that's the Tower28 shade, and it's like a dewy finish. And similarly, I got the Rose Ink one, which is also in a mauve shade, but this one's a lot like paler and more muted. And this is one of their new blushes in the shade Camellia. I knew I had to pick it up because I love the Rose Ink one and Heliotrope, but that one turns quite peachy on me, even though it's supposed to be like a neutral, I guess. This is like essentially the cool tone version of Heliotrope. And the Rose Ink ones I would say are a little bit thicker, but they do have like a grip to them, so they last quite long as well. And I feel like they give my cheeks a glow, which I really like. So here is the Rose Ink Camellia. You can see there's a lot more gray in it and a lot more purpley pink compared to Tower28 Office Hours. I love these types of mauve shades. I had to get both, but at least they're pretty different. Originally, I wasn't gonna get the Tower28 one because I felt like I already had enough mauves. And for your convenience, I'm gonna compare these to the Rare Beauty mauve ones, since those were the first ones I thought of when I saw the Tower28 launch. This is in the shade Encourage. I'm just gonna swatch these right next to them. This is the shade Encourage. It's quite similar, as you can see. It does have a little bit more like pinky purple undertone though. The Office Hours one is the warmest so far. And Encourage, I would say, is also a little bit deeper, like it has more brown to it. They're quite similar. And then I have this shade Believe. And why do Believe and Encourage look so similar? Anyways, Believe is a little bit even further than Office Hours. Like Believe and Encourage are pretty similar, but I would say Encourage and Office Hours are more similar, if that makes sense. So yeah, this one's a little bit too deep in comparison to Office Hours. But yeah, it's basically like if you took Encourage and deepened it, it becomes Believe. So that's really good for deeper skin tones. I feel like it would give the same effect as like Office Hours on lighter skin tones. And then lastly, I have Hope. So Hope is supposed to be cool tone, but it pulls more neutral on me. I guess that's like true of a lot of mauves. So actually, I would say Hope is the most similar. This is Hope. Sorry, it's a little bit far. This is Hope and this is Office Hours. Hope and Office Hours. Okay, yeah, these two are quite similar, I would say. I still think Office Hours has a little bit more like orange to it. It's kind of weird for like a mauve shade. I would say Office Hours is like the warmest mauve shade. Like that would still be considered a mauve. Like on me, you can tell it pulls quite warm, but I feel like on any like deeper skin tone than mine, it would pull cooler. So you can just kind of base it off of that. Actually, as you can see, the rose ink one is the most different. It's like the lightest and most like pastel muted. It has like this lavender undertone almost. Anyway, all of these are super pretty. I'm still gonna like rotate through all of them. I love mauves, I love cool tones, love like rosy tones. So, but anyways, let's put Office Hours on our lips because it's a lip and cheek balm. And a lot of times like blushes are not deep enough to put on your lips, but this one is. Like a lot of blushes have a white base to them and they look kind of weird on the lips, but this Tower28 one looks really nice. And I just really love this mauve tone collection. So now we're gonna top that off with the Sesame gloss, which came out at the same time as the Office Hours blush. And I know I got these a little bit late, but that's because I was like debating whether or not I needed them. And to be honest, I probably don't. But actually, this mauve gloss, I think I don't have anything like it. And it's like the perfect mauve shade. Can you see that? And also it adds the perfect jelly lip shine. Like I love these Tower28 lip jellies. Literally like my ideal gloss formula. And it's really hydrating and nourishing for my lips too. So anyways, this is the finished makeup. Let me just zoom you guys all the way in. So this is what we're looking like with the foundation. So we do have some glow, we have some radiance, but it's nothing like too greasy looking, nothing heavy feeling. I feel like it looks very natural for like the medium coverage. Yeah, I'm very, very satisfied with how the foundation is looking so far. So basically I'm gonna wear test this for at least 8 hours and then I'm gonna come back and we'll see the final verdict as to whether this foundation is worth the hype or not. So take a final good look. Right now it's 4:35 p.m. and I will be back in 8 hours because I sleep late anyways, so. See you. Okay, hi besties, I'm back after 8 hours. It's actually like 8.5 because it's 12:53 right now. So far I've worn this foundation twice. I have to say I'm pretty impressed. So let's zoom you all the way in. So here you can just take a good look. So I didn't touch up or anything, no repowdering and no like blotting. I am a little bit shiny in the T-zone, but it's like a normal amount of shine. Like I don't look crazy greasy, you know what I mean? And for a radiant foundation, that's pretty impressive. I have the most like unwanted shine like right here next to my nose. And it does like kind of bunch up the teensiest bit in my nose crevice. That happens to me with like literally any foundation if I wear it for like 8 hours. That doesn't really bother me per se, especially because like it doesn't look bad. It's just like, it doesn't look perfect, okay? Anyways, let's just look at how everything is doing. But overall, like, you guys can see, right? It just has an overall, like, very glass skin effect. That's the thing that this foundation reminds me the most of. So I'm sorry if I keep repeating myself, but that's, like, perfect description, I feel like. I'm pretty impressed with how this War Heart Radiant Foundation is not breaking up, really. Also, it doesn't feel super heavy because sometimes by the end of the day, it starts to feel like it's weighing on your skin. But I basically like don't feel it. So now we're gonna test if we can revive this foundation completely. So the first step is just taking my sponge and blotting. And it has like no extra product on it. I'm basically just sucking up the oils that are laying on top of my skin. Okay, now let's check to see how it looks. Honestly, that pretty much revived it. I feel like it looks pretty fresh now, but just to be sure. So like if I were going out at night, I would reset it with my Huda Beauty cupcake powder. So that's what we're gonna do. And we'll see if it gets cakey or not. I'm just gonna put it in these two places. That really made me feel like it like re-locked in my foundation, and yeah, honestly this foundation is basically good as new. You can literally see like everywhere on my face, like there's literally no signs of wear anywhere. I also even wore a mask, but it was kind of brief. Like I wore it for like maybe an hour, so I didn't wear it under the mask for too long. It's the perfect like natural radiant medium coverage foundation. It definitely gives me like very serum skincare vibes. It's skincare infused. It has like 20 plus skincare ingredients or something, and I feel like I can see that in this formula. To briefly compare to other popular skincare foundations like the NARS Light Reflecting and the Charlotte Tilbury Beautiful Skin, I actually might like this one more. I feel like it's more similar to the NARS one. If you're familiar with these two formulas, like it has that light serum-y texture and it has more of a radiant finish, but I do think it's slightly more like long lasting than the NARS, especially like for an oilier skin type. The NARS one doesn't break up under oil, but it's more just like it gets a little bit too radiant faster, whereas the Haus Labs one, I feel like it still vaguely controls oils like a little bit longer than the NARS one. So I feel like if you have oily skin and you want like a NARS light reflecting type of foundation, the Haus Labs one actually might be a good one to try. It's not super similar to the Charlotte Tilbury one because this one is like thicker in consistency, and also this has a little bit less coverage in my opinion. So yeah, I feel like if you're a NARS light reflecting fan, I think you will like the Haus Labs one as well. Oh yeah, and also comparing to the recent Patrick Ta foundation that I tried on my channel, I think I actually like this one more. Generally speaking, I like liquid foundations better. I feel like it glides over my skin better, and I definitely feel like if you have texture or like dry spots, this would kind of glide over and like cover those better, whereas I feel like the Patrick Ta one can kind of emphasize that. that unless you like really pat it into your skin. And I also feel like the Patrick Ta one is not as long lasting and is a teensy bit like heavier feeling. Like it doesn't actually feel heavy, but more so like by the end of the day, I feel like I can feel it on my skin more. Whereas this one I think sinks in even more than the Patrick Ta one. Like if you're debating between this one and the Patrick Ta, I would pick this. Honestly, I still really like both. It's more just like the Haus Labs was like easier to apply for me. Like it was easier for me to get a more seamless look. For the Patrick Ta one, I had to like really pat it and let it sink into my skin. But after that, it looks good. So do with that what you will, but my recommendation is definitely the Haus Labs. Also just want to note about the shades. The Haus Labs have opposite shade descriptions. So their warm means it has a pink undertone and their cool means it has a yellow undertone, similar to like MAC's definition. That can be confusing, so I do recommend you swatch in store because that definitely confused me a lot at first when I was trying to find my shade online. Also, this foundation was made in Korea, which automatically just like makes me trust it more just because I trust like Korean beauty and skincare products. Like I can tell that it's a very elevated formula. So anyways, overall I have to say I actually am very impressed with this foundation and it might be my favorite foundation I've tried so far this year. I don't want to say that too soon. Obviously I'm gonna have like my yearly favorites at the end of this year, which is coming up, but so far I'm honestly really liking this foundation. I'll just have to compare it to the NARS because that's the most similar one in my opinion. I recommend this for pretty much everybody. I feel like it's a very agreeable type of foundation. The only people I wouldn't necessarily recommend it for is for like super oily people, but I have seen oily skin reviewers say that this foundation is amazing. So do with that what you will. Since this is a more like natural radiant finish foundation, I would say if you're like afraid of like any looking greasy at all, you might not like this. But I have a slightly oily skin type and this is not too oily for me. Like you guys can see my skin is looking pretty fire. So yeah, that's about all my thoughts for today. I hope you found this video helpful. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you like this video and comment and subscribe down below if you want to see more content like this because it really helps out my channel and it would really mean a lot to me. And I'll see you all in my next video. Bye.